Stratford School, Mrs. Caravan here. So today we are talking about light. So all light travels in a straight line unless something gets in the way. When something gets in the way, it can either reflect, like a mirror, it will go down and bounce back off of that surface. It can refract or bend, so like if it were to go into water, the waves will come down and they might bend in a different direction to go down farther into the water. Or they can scatter, and that's what we see in a sunset. If the wavelengths hit little tiny particles, they'll bounce off of those particles and scatter. So we're going to be doing a sunset in a jar today. So blue light is scattered by tiny particles in the atmosphere more than other colors because it has a shorter, smaller wavelength. So if you were to look at red compared to blue, the red wavelengths are a lot longer than the blue. The blue has these little short wavelengths and the red has long wavelengths. So as the blue travels through the air, it hits more and more particles than the red. So that is actually what makes the sky blue. It's the blue wavelengths that are getting bounced around by all those particles and scattering up in the air, up in the atmosphere. So as the sun gets lower in the sky, it's passing through more of the atmosphere to reach you. So even more of the blue light is getting scattered, and just the reds and the yellows are actually making their way through the atmosphere to where you're seeing them. So those longer wavelengths are able to make it farther through the atmosphere. So today we're going to be creating a sunset in a jar or a vase, or depending on what you have. I have got right here a little fish tank, little tank here. So you need a tank, you're going to need a little tiny bit of milk, and you're going to need a flashlight. So it's kind of hard to see in my experiment here with my camera. I can see it really well with my eyes, but the camera's not picking it up so well. What you need is for every cup of water that you put in your tank, you want 1 teaspoon of milk mixed in. And that milk is going to be making the scattering of the light waves. So you don't need too much milk. You need about 1 teaspoon per 3 cups is what I put in. I have about 9 cups of water in my tank. And then you take your flashlight. This is going to be our pretend sun. And you'll see, it's hard for you guys to see, but this end of the tank near the light where it hasn't passed through much of the milk water yet, it's more of a blue color. And down this end of the tank where it's passed through a lot of this liquid and it's getting scattered, so if this was the atmosphere, this would be like sunset time, it's going farther. Down here it's actually a red color. I'm going to show you by putting a piece of paper on the other end. You'll be able to see that the light coming out the other end is actually a reddish orange now. See how it's kind of orangey reddish? So this is called a sunset in a jar. So we're turning the white light at this end. It's kind of bluish here, it's hard for you guys to see. And then as you go down farther, it's turning orangey red. You have a sunset in the jar due to the light scattering. In this case it's scattering off of milk particles, but in the sky it'd be bouncing off of water or any kind of dust that's up in the atmosphere, and you would have a sunset at night. So there you go, sunset in a jar.